Crystal Isles has just released on consoles and just opened up for transfers on PC official servers. So today we're going to be going over some crucial information you need to know about this map, including things that I wish I knew starting out on Crystal Isles. Alright, so the first tip that I'm going to give you guys is Crystal Wyverns are definitely like the main reason people come to this map, aside from like farming and stuff. But unfortunately, a lot of the time you go to feed a Crystal Wyvern, and that's how it's supposed to work. But if you are trying to tame one that somebody has already tried to tame, then it won't give you the option to tame it. So as you guys can see, it doesn't say wait until it's hungry again. It doesn't give me the option to tame it whatsoever. So we actually found a little bit of a trick for that. And I don't know if this is exclusive to Crystal Wyverns or all passive tames, because honestly, I've never really had any ruined passive tames like this. But all you need to do is just knock the thing out. And when this thing wakes up, as long as it doesn't aggro me, which sometimes it will aggro you, I'm not sure exactly why. It may have to do with how close you are to it. Me and Nate weren't exactly able to precisely pinpoint the reason. When this thing wakes up, ignore that. It will actually be tameable by me, even though I'm not in that tribe anymore. So as you guys can see, it's woken up now. Let's see if it's still mad at me. It looks like it still is, unfortunately. Oh no, it isn't. And there you go. As you guys can see, I can now feed it crystals. So this is how we actually got a lot of our Crystal Wyverns on Caesar's Ark when we were on 6-man. We would go and find level 140s or 150s that were not tameable by us, which means they weren't tameable by other people as well. What that normally means is somebody was PvP'd while trying to tame it, or fell off and died while trying to tame it, or something else. You know, maybe an act of God happened and their internet went out. However, all we would do is just skip it back to our base, knock it out, and when it woke up, we were able to tame it again. Alright guys, and tip number 2 is going to be a little bit of a two-parter. So basically the Wyverns are a big draw for this map, that's true, but there is also a couple of other like major things as far as tames are concerned. So one, we have the Griffin Scar, which we are right on top of. I'll give you guys the chords here right now. So the chords are 70, 48. So basically it's right here in the desert. It's a big crack. I think with like the single player settings I have right now, I have it to where like it's spawning half as many dinos as normal. This is normally like just filled to the brim with griffins. So if you come through here, you can basically find a high level griffin almost instantly anymore. So aside from the griffins themselves, there's like some resources and stuff that spawn in here. Occasionally you'll find a rock golem or two, but mostly you're just going to come here to get griffins. It's also a really, really cool spot to go whenever there's an event going on, because then you get all these really cool colorful griffins, and yeah, makes getting a griffin actually a little bit too easy if you ask me, but it is what it is. People enjoy it. Right next to the Griffin Scar, so the Griffin Scar is right there, and I'll give you guys the chords for this as well. This is actually the Wyvern Scar here on Crystal Isles, and the coordinates for this spot is 7544. And you'll see these big like plateaus and stuff. I would not recommend building on these because this is such a hot spot for activity. So unless you're on like PvE or single player, don't try and build over here. People will find you and they will raid you. As far as the actual spots where the nests spawn, I don't know all of the spawns. I do know there's one that spawns right here in this corner. And I believe like around the corner there's another spawn. They're in like really weird spots normally around like the edges of where the actual scar itself is. I've never seen more than one egg actually inside, and when I found the one inside, I can't actually really remember where it was. So a lot of times they're going to be up on like these cliffs and these little edges and stuff. And what you get from here is Crystal Wyvern air eggs. And the air wyverns, they look just like the normal Crystal Wyverns, except for they have like these cool like skulls and stuff on them. I'll put a B-roll shot over so you guys can see what I'm talking about right now, because I can't get one to spawn, of course. But they look really cool. Unfortunately, when you hatch the egg, it actually just pops as a normal, whatever type of wyvern it is. So if you get like a blood wyvern air egg, it's going to pop as a blood wyvern. If you get a tropical, it's going to pop as just a regular tropical. So it's an alternative way to get high level wyverns. It's not necessarily the most consistent, but if you're already out here and you're looking at, you know, the Griffin Scar, or going into the desert to get like some chitin or something, it's worth popping in here. We have found some pretty decent high level eggs over here before. You can get, oh, here we go. I think this one right here actually is an air wyvern. Let me see if I can grab this thing for us. You can get up to like level 225s, which is like a perfect tame if you were to get a 150. So it is worth checking out. It's just not like the most consistent way. Can I not grab them anymore? Huh. It's not the most consistent way to get wyverns. I would still much prefer going out and taming them. Alright, so tip number 3 I'm going to give you guys is right here in the desert at about 8044. Basically anywhere in this big open desert area. This is going to be your main Giga spawn. So if you're trying to get Gigas and you're maining Crystal Isles, you're going to want to be here. Normally there's 1 Giga here. Sometimes there's as many as 2 in the desert. If you guys have watched any of the series that I did on Crystal Isles, this is where we always end up getting our Gigas. So this is going to be the area that you're going to want to go if you want to get your Giga lines started. Alright guys, and the 4th tip here is going to be another small little 2-parter. So basically on this map, the easiest way for you to get your first 100 element is going to be actually to craft it in the charge stations that are spread out throughout the map. Well, forgot to turn alerts off. Anyways, so you're going to want to use the charge stations that are spread out across the map. It's also very useful because you can get charge batteries for your battery heavies and things like that. However, I know you guys are probably asking, well, how do you get gas balls? And the reason that we're over here at 6072 is there's actually a spawn here for a place where you can put a gas vein. So gas veins, I don't know exactly how many different spots there are that you can spawn them in. However, there is a few up here. There's like 2 up top and 1 down below. And again, the coords for that are going to be 6173. But if you guys are going to try to get your first 100 elements, you can get your replicator up, so you can start crafting those, nice element shards you're going to be farming on the map into hard element. You're going to want to come over here to the swamp. It's probably the easiest place to get gas balls. And then there's a bunch of different spots that you can find charge nodes. What I would recommend is probably go and check the ones over near Green Ob and Blue Ob, since there's like 1 charge node on Green Ob and 2 that are on Blue Ob, and those are pretty easy to hit. However, I'm sure there's guides out there for like where all of these are, and you guys can find a nice little like path that you can run and get your first 100 element a lot quicker than just doing those ones. Alright, so for tip number 5, we're going to be going over a few different things. So a couple of different resource things that you're going to want to know. So here in the floating islands, around like 50-70, you will actually find throughout the rivers and in the ponds Karkanos, which is pretty crazy. I didn't think they were actually going to add these to a free map, let alone one that's already got so much stuff in it. But yes, you can actually get Karkanos. I would not necessarily recommend taming them for farming, but if you want to do that, you can. Primarily what I would use them for is a good source of chitin, because the spider caves that spawn all of like the bugs and stuff will actually get built in pretty commonly on these maps. And also you can get a good amount of organic polymer off of them. I do believe there's some spawns for penguins, but I never really went and looked for them, because early organic polymer you want to get Karkanos, late organic polymer you're going to want to go to the location I'm going to show you guys here next, which is Bee Cave. Another reason that we're over here is these rivers and ponds. Not all of them, but most of them are actually going to be filled to the brim with pearls. So let me go ahead and show you guys what I'm talking about. Yeah, so here. So as you guys can see, like pretty much a lot of the bodies of water that are in the area around the floating islands, you're going to be able to find quite a lot of silica pearls. I don't know why I'm punching them when I'm grabbing them, but my single player settings are much higher than what you're going to have on like official, so keep that in mind. But for early game pearl farm, I would definitely recommend coming to the floating islands. It's got a lot of very like shallow pools of water that you can farm. So if you're not, built in like Dragon Cave, which has like built-in pearl farm, then definitely check this spot out. Alright guys, so next tip is going to be about the Bee Cave, primarily where it's located. It's at 3132. So I'm going to go ahead and get myself a hatchet. Obviously, this is like the most inefficient way possible for me to be harvesting this stuff, but I'm just going to show you guys exactly what you can get from the Bee Cave if you're unaware. Now, these aren't your normal beehives. You can't actually domesticate these. These are actually a harvestable resource. So what you want to do is you want to come in here either early game with a pick and a hatchet, whatever, or late game with an Anki and a Doed. If you use the Anki, you're going to get honey. If you use the Doed, you're going to get polymer. So as you guys can see, again, remember my single player settings are much different than actual official settings, so keep that in mind. But with a hatchet, I'm able to get quite a lot of polymer. Now, the only thing to keep into consideration is you are going to aggro all of the bees that are within a certain range, so, keep that in mind. But the really, really cool thing about this, the polymer's cool, but aberration exists, right? We've had organic polymer farm for a while, but if you come in here with an Anki, you can get quite a lot of giant bee honey. Like, a lot, like slot cap, easily, in giant bee honey, and that's not something that we've had in the past. So basically the only like limiter on making cakes time-wise, which has always been honey, has kind of been soft removed, because you can get like whole slot caps at a time out of here, and then, you know, craft as many cakes as you want. So that's one thing about the bee cave. Another thing is this does lead into the massive underwater tunnel area, which has like, you know, good loot drops and stuff in it. Again, I'm going to show you guys the coords of this spot. If you want to like bring a water tame down here and hunt for those drops, you can, but I actually wouldn't recommend that, because the next tip that I'm going to show you guys is where some better drops are that are a little bit easier to get to. The only thing that I do want to bring up while we're here is inside of this water down here. So anyways, you come down this this underwater cave. Eventually you're going to find these little rocks here with the purple stuff in them. So if you've played Aberration, you already know what this is. If you haven't, this is actually element ore. So this is how you're going to be able to craft that element at those charge nodes that I was showing you earlier. To the best of my knowledge, this is the only like consistent place to find it. There could be some more areas, so I'm not going to go ahead and, you know, go on the record and say this is the only place to find it, but this is the most consistent area that I know to find it. It spawns like 100% of the time. That's going to do it for the bee cave. Let's go ahead and show you guys where I personally like to farm drops on this map. This tip here, I'm actually going to get in a little bit of trouble for with my tribe mates, I'm sure, because these drops are pretty uncontested. But the world's got to know. So we're going to go over to probably one of the most important biomes on the entire map. If you're not here to get polymer or honey or tame griffins or get crystal wyverns, then more than likely you're coming over here for the easy element farm. Now the easy element farm is going to be here in this biome that is poorly rendered and not fully, like, you know, rendered in yet. It's called the Eldritch Isles, and it's a really cool biome. I definitely give them like big props for all the cool stuff they put in here, these floating bubbles and all this stuff. I'm going to show you guys a couple of things about this area. For one, let's go ahead and go down here. This is just going to basically cover everything about the Eldritch Isles that I know of. So for one, there's Featherlights and Carcanos that spawn in here. There's also Aberrant Spinos and Aberrant Megalosauruses. So basically think of this as like a weird pseudo-ab zone, and nothing exemplifies that more than Artifact of the Shadows literally spawns in an open cave here. So no longer, if you're unofficial, do you have to bargain with some cuck that's hiding in the shadow cave using his crouch point to try and make a profit. No, no, no. You can come down here. Now another thing is throughout this entire biome, you're going to see two different types of crystals. You're going to see these crystals that have the cool animation, and these ones that look basic as fuck. Now you would think these ones here would be the ones that give you element, right? But actually, these ones just give you crystal. It's these ones that actually drop the element and the different kinds of gems. So you can get like blue, red, and green gems and element shards from these. You don't get a shitload. It's worse than Genesis, but there's a lot of them. So you can actually farm like hundreds of element here each run. It's definitely not the most efficient way, but if you're already, you know, doing all your other farming here, like if you live on Crystal Isles, it's not a bad way to get element at all. I would not recommend it for like, you know, mass crafting tech or anything, but it's still decent. On another little side note about this area, it's actually really, really good for metal. You can slot cap a Magmasaur or an Anki down here probably around 2 times off all the metal that's down here. So, pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the coords so that you guys know where the artifact is. But basically, we're going to be going over the entire biome, so, you know, just keep that in mind. So this is where the artifact is located. Can't miss it. It's a gigantic fucking hole in the ground. Now, next thing that I want to talk about in this biome. These trees are actually the big ones here. I don't know if it's all the big ones or just some of the big ones. So let me go ahead and take a little peek here. But I know some of these, yeah, drop sap. So you now have a way to get sap without waiting for sap taps. You have a way to get honey without waiting for beehives. So realistically, all you need to do is grow your crops, and that's going to be your limiter on veggie cakes. Now, another thing that I want to show you guys is where we get our drops. And again, I'm going to get yelled at. Nate's probably reeing in my comment section on my Twitch stream right now, because I am recording this live on Twitch, link in the description. He's probably telling me not to show you guys this, but, you know, I genuinely, I don't think that, like, you know, hoarding this forever is a good idea. Somebody eventually is going to make a video on it. It may as well be me. So this is another cool feature that they have, and it's these cool little, like, water bubbles These are not just like water bubbles that have nothing in them. They do actually spawn like electrophorus, anglers, and piranhas and stuff. So yes, you can tame an angler in here. I would not recommend it because unless you find one that just has an angler inside of it, it's going to get swarmed as soon as it's tamed. Another thing to note is that these pearls here, that would kind of remind me of the ones that you would get on Genesis. These are how you can get like really easy black pearls by hand. So that's a nice way to collect those. And actually right here where I'm standing is where one of many different Eldritch like biome drops are. So basically these spawn usually blue, yellow, and red. The first one spawns here. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the coords. It's not here right now, but trust me, I have farmed this one several times. And it's inside of this water bubble. As far as I know, it's the only one that's inside of a water bubble. Don't quote me on that. Right from there, you go straight down. And as you guys can see, here's another drop. Now, I don't have my drops like changed at all. So this is like, you know, the kind of stuff that you can expect. It is not like crazy or anything. You can get some doo-doo butt cheeks stuff out of it. However, you can get like really good stuff as well. We've gotten like trophy saddles pre-crafted up to like 300 damage. Good trophy saddle BPs, flak BPs, riot BPs, combo, like fab sniper, you name it, you can get it from these drops. They're pretty insane. So that's the second one. It's like right next to the first, and then I'll show you guys where 3 other ones spawn that we normally hit. I don't think it's spawned at the moment. Oh, it is. Okay, perfect. This is another spawn. It's at 24.7, 74.1. Now elevation does play a factor here, so make sure that you guys take that into account. As you guys can see here, I'm not getting like crazy good BPs, but again, these are free BPs that just spawn here on the ground. Like, they're completely uncontested by any like wild dinos or anything. You don't have to go into a cave. You don't have to be underwater. You just go to them and they're there. And if they sit there long enough, they actually will respawn instantly. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Make sure that you hang out for a minute. If they've been there for like 2 hours, they'll actually respawn instantly. The next one is here. It's usually up here on this little piece of like ground here. I'll give you guys the coords for this one as well. It is about 26.1, 72.9, and this one doesn't normally spawn red. Normally I see this one more like a blue or a yellow drop, but they all do have the chance to spawn red. And the last one that I know of, and I know there's more, I've seen like posts like on different like forums and stuff about these. I just haven't seen any videos about them. But the last one that I know of that we farm on a regular basis is actually over here. And you want to look for this little rock formation. And it spawns on top of this rock here, right about where I'm standing. So it's about 24.1, 67.7, and it spawns on there. Sounds like a drop. Is it inside of here? It spawned inside. That's not typical. Normally it'll spawn on top, but as you guys can see, I'm sure there's more even, but you know, these are red drops. I'm not sure if it's my single player settings making them as bad as they are. Ordinarily they wouldn't be that bad. You do get some duds like that, like fabricated pistol BPs and stuff like that, but I mean, like I said, you can get, you know, fabricated shotgun BPs, you can get fabricated sniper BPs, you can get flak BPs. That's how we got all of our flak BPs. That's how we got all of our trophy saddles and trophy BPs when we were on Crystal Isles small tribes. Alright guys, and last but certainly not least, there's definitely a lot more things that I could talk about, like how the charcoal trees spawn in certain biomes and how, like, you know, certain areas spawn different kinds of wyverns, but I feel like those are kind of more basic things. This is something that actually took us around a week to find, and that is just sulfur. Now, you wouldn't think sulfur is such a, you know, important resource, but when you're playing on a map that's clustered off, like when we were on small tribes, and people have Plan X, and you can't find sulfur to make flame arrows, it's actually really, really frustrating. So this is like the only place that I've been able to find it is in these woods here near the volcano at about 48.1, 57.1. I don't know if there's any other spawns for them on the map. I know there's a few different pockets of them nearby here, but I checked like up on the volcano all the way. I checked in the desert, in the surrounding areas of the desert. I wasn't able to find it anywhere. I don't even think killing the Ember Wyverns drops sulfur, if I remember correctly. I think it just drops like crystal. So this is definitely like a very crucial resource, I feel. If there's anything that I didn't cover in this video that you guys want to see, make sure that you let me know down in the comments. And if it's something pretty basic, I'll just answer your guys' questions. And if there's a lot of stuff that I forgot to cover, then I'll maybe make a part 2 on this video. But that's going to wrap things up for today, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and hopefully you guys learned something. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.